Is that what he says? All the deuces? What's a deuce? All the deuces, all the deuces. I used to think that song Folded by, what's her name? Kelani. Folded. I used to think it's not good, but I changed my mind now. It's very good. I don't know what it is. I think the radio just like when they play it every day. Well, I mean, I don't know about the lyrics. I don't know about the lyrics, but I know like I don't like the chorus. I think and that's what people play on the on the what you call it thing, right? They play the chorus. I don't I don't like the chorus. I like her verses, and I don't necessarily like the message because I don't care about the message. I just like the way she sings it. And what did Chris Brown say in that one song? All the deuces for the birds. You ain't nothing but a vulture. Welcome in. I only have about 6 minutes left. I just finished a talk on therapy and why people need it. And what I believe is I do think therapy is real. Psychology is real. Being able to analyze someone's conflicts and concerns is real. Go ahead and leave the live up for another 7 minutes. If you guys have questions, let me know. So I was watching this person's video, right? And they were telling their experience about how they went to therapy, and then after going for a certain amount of time, they felt like they didn't have a need to go to therapy anymore. They decided to stop going, and then they decided to go about fixing their own problems their own way. And I want to basically say, you know what I mean? The majority of people, just because they can't afford therapy, right? Because it is quite expensive for someone to listen to you and diagnose you and help you, right? So because it's expensive, maybe insurance don't cover it, then you tend to decide, well, it's not for me. I don't have a problem, right? But you have to think about um, your mental issue in this type of way, right? You have a problem. You know, that's the reason why, you know, the byproduct of who you are doesn't work, right? So, like, if if you step back and look at the overall picture of how you're existing, maybe you can't coexist with people around you, or you can't, you're unable to, you're unable to get certain things done in your life, right? So essentially, when you reject the concept of therapy, you already put yourself in a place where you don't want to resolve your problem, right? Um, you know, so some people assume that therapy won't work or doesn't work or is not for them, right? Or they don't have a problem where therapy is necessary. What I say is this, right? I don't have a background in being a therapist, right? However, I do believe in it. Does that make sense? Um, and the reason why I believe in it is because I'm heavily concerned about the behavior of myself and the behavior of people around me, right? Okay, there's one thing we can't do. We can't change people, right? They have to change themselves, right? So that in that statement alone, right? In that statement alone, that person that requires change, or you as an individual that requires change, how hard is it will it be for you to make your change or for someone else to make their change if they're already not acknowledging that they have something that needs to be fixed, right? So it's like a false a false logic, right? You can't give yourself an out when y- you you obviously have conflicts, right? That you haven't resolved. That's the whole issue, right there, right? So therefore, um, you need some mediation, right? You need medicine. You need something to resolve, your issue, right? But not everything is requires you to take some sort of substance to cure you, right? When it comes to like a mental illness or behavior um, issue, right? Therapy is required. You know what I mean? Like there's no other fix. You know what I mean? Even if you went and let's say you had an issue with you know you like a mental issue which requires medicine, right? That medicine doesn't really fix the person. It might make them drowsy. It might give them um, some sort of like way to lower their activities or whatever, right? But it doesn't fix the problem, right? Because if you look at it as a behavior problem, what requires a behavior resolve, right, or a fix is time, right? Patience, working through. It's like having someone with a physical impairment, right? Let's say someone with a broken arm that needs to be rehabilitated, right? Their joints are messed up, right? What do you have to do? Physical therapy, right? Physical therapy. You have to train your muscles to come back, right? With with the brain and behavior issues, right? It takes patience. It takes person to understand and acknowledge, right? Before they can make that change. But without without the first two steps, right? The resolve doesn't come about. Does that make sense? Acknowledgement, right? Deciding to actually pursuing a process to make a change. So once that all that takes place, then you can rehabilitate. That's why therapy is important, right? So if you see someone with a pattern, right? Okay, let's take a very simple example, right? A very harsh but simple example. Someone with a vice, someone with an addiction, right? How do you get someone off of cigarettes if they don't acknowledge the problem, right? Okay, so usually when people acknowledge the problem, it's already too late, right? They got lung disease, it's cancerous, right? Oh, I have a problem. Now I'm gonna stop, right? But even then, right, their addiction's too strong, they still keep on going. Um, you know, I've seen people, you know what I mean, like with alcohol problem, right? They have like liver disease. You know, they went to a doctor. They say, "Hey, you have liver disease. You need to do something right now." Right? By the second time they went back to the hospital, it's over. It's done. You know what I mean? Like they can't fix him. Person passes away. Right? What's liver disease for an alcoholic? It's it's the hardening of the liver. Right? You can't. You know what I mean? No amount of exercise can fix that. Right? When it's too late. Um. Yeah. So is therapy important? Yes, it's important. Will you be able to find the right therapist that's going to help you? Right? I believe if someone is dedicated enough to sit through and listen to you and give and offers um, some sort of feedback, right? And requires you to come back, you know what I mean? Well, you can say, well, they're too expensive, right? And they didn't do anything for me. That's always hard. That's always hard. You know what I mean? But I think the gesture is this: when you go to a therapist, right? They sit there, they listen, right? If I go in there and I said, "Hey, look, you know what I mean? Like, I was recommended, that um, I have an issue. Or I'm too high tempered. Frequently, this is what I do that that gives people around me, um, you know, worry, right? And I'm here for help, right? What can you do for me? So then they sit there, they listen to you, right? And then they offer some sort of solution or whatnot, right? Um, and like at some point, people, oh, this person that I was watching, right? They said, oh, the therapist gave me a worksheet, right? A worksheet, and they thought it was humorous or whatnot, or not humorous, but not serious enough, right? Well, what are you looking for? Medicine? That's the last thing you want. You know what I mean? So the worksheet is for you to help you understand what you're going through and to acknowledge your problem. That's what that is. You know what I mean? Like it's to help you to understand and reflect on the things you're doing and for you to acknowledge that, right? Is there a resolve to it? No, you haven't acknowledged the issue yet, the problem, right? Is the therapist going to give you what the problem is? They might have an overall summary of what they think or analysis of what they think you're going through, right? But, you know, now if you go in there with a whole load of like story to tell, yeah, you know what I mean? Um, but if you're a person that obviously nothing affects you, right? Like you're carefree, you're happy. You know what I mean? Um, and everyone else has a problem with you. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's talk about issues, right? Let's talk about problems. Like when people have problems, like why do they have problems? You know what I mean? Like what is a problem? A problem should be a negative thing, right? But if you don't think you have a problem, then it's not a negative thing. You go about your business, right? But when people around you think you have a problem, then and they suggest you go to therapy, right? Now, um, that's just more or less that could be a lifestyle conflicting problem. Like you can't live around the people that has certain standards that you got or expectations about you. Then you move on, right? So you don't live with people that you can't live with, and that's what it is, right? Um, you know, let's say you're married, right? And let's say your wife want to get a divorce with you, right? You don't cheat, you don't smoke, you don't drink. She's just unhappy, right? And you guys always tend to like have strong opinions, strong words about each other, right? And every day seems to be another bad day or a toxic environment where you guys can't have a normal and happy conversation. Then yes, that is a problem. You know what I mean? When you go to um, marriage counseling, what do you think is gonna happen, right? You're gonna tell your story, the other person gonna tell their story, and then the therapist has to figure out what's the problem is, right? You know what I mean? Now, I think it's gonna be obvious, right? Let's say you love the person, and the other person has not the same reciprocation, right? But you don't see it. You think you guys can continue on, right? But when it becomes toxic, it becomes destructive, right? And when the relationships stay destructive and not constructive, then yes, there needs to be a resolve, right? And sometimes the resolve has to be the dreaded, divorce. And you might not be able to see it because you're still capable of love. But if the person is not capable of love anymore, then everything else that you do is going to be forceful, right? You're trying to force something that's not there. So what's the resolve? The resolve is like two people won't be able to change their way, and no one person can be bigger than the other person if the other person won't allow it, right? So yes, a divorce is necessary. A separation is necessary. You know what I mean? Like you can't try to make it something work that won't work. You know what I mean? That's overall relationships. You know, when it's time to move on, you have to move on. You know, even when you have kids, right? It's gonna be worse for the kids. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, guys. It's been 20 minutes. And if you have any questions, go ahead and ask questions if you were listening. But if not, then hey, I'm here every day. You know what I mean? I'll bring up new topics. Um, but for me, I believe in therapy. Therapy is not something that's fake. It's real. You know what I mean? It's an intermission, or not intermission. It's a intervention, right? You call it what it is. It's intervention. It's a medium. You know what I mean? It's arbitrary, arbiter, someone in the middle that's gonna give you, the best path to fixing the problem that you need. Right? You might not be able to see it because you're stuck in the play, the gameplay. Right? You're stuck in it. You don't see it. Right? You're not the best at the game. That's all it is. You're not the best at the game. Right?